going on, guys? I'm Michael Anthony, and thank you for checking out my article in this month's Shutter Magazine. Guys, this is the lighting edition of Shutter Magazine. It's one of my favorite months to write articles, and this month we are talking all about the fundamentals of flash and natural light that can help you to become a better photographer and produce better images for your clients. Now, in the article, I outline a couple of things that are really important. One of the things I want to touch on here in the video that can really take your photography in terms of details from good to great is definitely going to have to do with the color, right? We can use a lot of different things to modify, a lot of different types of gels to modify the color of our flash. But most importantly, what I like to focus on is the difference between corrective and creative coloring in our images. Now, oftentimes, talking about corrective coloring, this is where we can improve our photography quite a bit, because it is pretty common knowledge, I would think, if you've been doing this for a little while, to understand that you want to match the dominant light source in your images in terms of matching the color of your flash, right? So for instance, if you are working in a tungsten environment, you want to use a CTO balanced gel on your flash in order to match the color of the ambient light in the room. That'll allow you to crank up your ISO or drag your shutter, let a little bit more ambient light into the frame so that you can create an image that isn't so flashy. Does that make sense? I think it does, okay. But one of the things that I think makes your images, your creative portraits, much better is by looking at the color of the light that you are working in, right? So for instance, let's just say we're shooting at sunset. If we use a flash that is typically colored at 5500 Kelvin on our subjects, it's going to produce a light that appears white in a neutral color balance. Now, what ends up happening with that is when you put that white light on your subject, but the light all around them is this nice, beautiful orange or golden, it's not going to look correct to the eye. In fact, it's going to look more like flash. And while we look at images that are backlit by the sun and there's light on the couple's face, it's obvious to know we're using flash, but for our eyes, if we're using flash that matches the same color of that scene, it's going to make things look a lot better and a lot more believable, right? Also, when you guys are working in an environment that is, let's just say, going to be, warmer in tone in terms of a creative standpoint, if you wanted to warm those colors up, then you might use a blue gel to actually make the environment appear a little bit warmer. When you get that image into post-production, you crank up that white balance, okay? So those are some really important things. The next thing that I want to touch on is the shape of the light and why it matters, okay? When we pose, and if I talk about posing, if you guys read my articles, you guys have seen me talk about posing or read me talk about posing before, you guys know that all of the time, whenever I am crafting a pose, I am basing that around the light that we are using to light our subjects with, right? So oftentimes, guys, I like to position the bride's body away from the light with her face turned back into it. And when you do that, you guys are creating a good shape on your subject. It's placing the body of your subject, your female subject, in shadow, and the smaller part of the body in the light. It's also placing some of the face in shadow with a small portion of the face in the light. And by turn, what that ends up doing is it makes your subject appear more slim because, again, whatever our eyes are drawn to the brightest part of an image. So it makes our subjects appear more slim and more slender, and it's just an overall better quality of light, right? So how do you guys choose which modifiers to use when you're in a situation that's requiring flash, okay? Well, oftentimes what I try to do is I use the guiding principle of I want to make my modifier match the ambient light source that I am working with. So for instance, I'm out in the sun, okay, and it's like, say, f16 outside, right? That's what we have to do to get our 200th of a second keep under our sync speed. I'm oftentimes, if there's no cloud cover or anything, I'm going to be using a direct flash or some sort of a hard reflector in order to make that light appear more specular, more hard, match the environment. If I'm shooting out on a cloudy day, I'm using a softbox, 24 inches, 36-inch softbox, or an umbrella, something of that nature, right? Oftentimes if we're shooting at nighttime, I want to try to use soft light if I can as well too. All of those things will help the image appear more believable, especially when you're monitoring the color of that flash that you're using as well too. So when it comes to flash, guys, just make sure that you're paying attention to those details. As I talked about in my article, okay, the difference again between good photographers and great photographers is, in our client's mind, it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So the little details, the little things that you guys do to stand out, that's going to make the most difference in terms of a client deciding to pay you a higher price or your competitor is charging less, right? That's all I have for you guys today. Thank you again for checking out my article in Shutter Magazine. Can't wait to catch you guys next month. We've got some good stuff to write about. Talk to you soon.